Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I've been talking, communicating, exchanging text messages on social media with some of my friends. And we came to talking about Zimbabwe's political violence. And one of the friends posted the video of Nelson Chamisa in hospital following the attack he received from Zanu PF thugs that year that left him with a fractured skull. This is outrageous. This is happening in independent Zimbabwe. The fact that it's happening should outrage every thinking Zimbabwean out there. So we got to the point where we're talking about why is this continuing to happen? And naturally, it led to the political reality that the MDC leaders, Nelson Chamisa and company, had the opportunity in the last 26 years to end this madness. I was surprised by the reaction of those I can only call the Chamisa Chete Brigade members. Their line of defense is Chamisa and company are victims of Zanu PF oppression, and you should not blame them for what is happening. I am really done with this mentality. If it was Zanu PF supporters, as we all know, they'll be talking about the heroic antics of the Zanu PF leaders like Mnangagwa during the Liberation War. And the level of oppression that Zanu PF leaders faced during the fight for independence. Nobody's denying the oppression of the white colonial regime. No one is denying that. But the same people would also want to filter out what Mnangagwa has done since 1980. They are stubbornly refusing to accept that Mnangagwa was a key player in the 2008 Operation Mafotera Papi. That had nothing to do with the freedom, justice, one man, one vote that the nation had been fighting for during the fight to end white colonial rule. Here is a reminder of what Mnangagwa did in 2008.
I also know that Mugabe conceded defeat on 2008. He phoned Mbeki and Obasanjo to concede defeat. I hope that Thabo Mbeki and Obasanjo will one day make that public. But one of them, I won't say which one, told me that Mugabe phoned them that Saturday night and said, look, I lost the election and I concede defeat. And I know that Mugabe stuck to his guns. I was prepared to go. His wife was since bags packed to go somewhere on the following day when Mnangagwa and Chiwenga approached him and said, you stay where you are. And then they contrived the runoff, sadly with the help of South Africa. And runoff took place, very violent. 360 people were killed. I don't know. The South African, I came here as part of a delegation to Cape Town to see members of the ANC. I don't want to mention names, they're my friends. I saw them, and through them, a cabinet committee subcommittee of South African cabinet was set up on the Zimbabwe issue. It was on the basis of that cabinet committee that South Africa did not recognize the runoff. And indeed, it was the basis of that committee that Thabo sent the generals to South Africa, to Zimbabwe. I met them, and I was one of the few to have read the report, because I was flying to Joburg in the company of General Romano, who was a friend. He passed away, no? So, yeah. And I also took people who had lost their hands in the violence to the South African embassy in Harare. And Romano broke down in tears. How can a liberation movement treat these people like that? He was a broken man. So there's no doubt at all here in South Africa as to the brutality of the regime in Harare. So it amazes me, it angers me, in fact, when I hear the nonsense coming out of people like Mbalula's mouth. They know it. And the report has never been published, the general's report, to this day. That tells you.
We must face that reality that the promises of the armed struggle, freedom, justice, one man, one vote, were never fulfilled in 1980. That is the political reality we cannot deny. And yet, if you talk to the die-hard Zanu PF supporters, they refuse to accept that reality. By the same token, we cannot pretend that the MDC, CCC leaders did not have the opportunity to change, to end the Zanu PF dictatorship, these last 26 years in particular, including the 5 years in the GNU. Here is the video clip of Chamisa in 2007.
Chamisa was beaten unconscious with a metal bar by unidentified attackers.
He says at least 8 men grabbed him when he got out of his car and started beating him, then left him on the roadside, unconscious and covered in blood. Doctors say he has a fractured skull, but Chamisa says he won't give up the fight.
It means that we have to die. That's it. We need to sacrifice for our country. I'm sure you know that people are suffering. And it's no joke, people are actually dying of hunger. It's because we believe that there's a better way of doing things. The easier way is to take guns. But we've not taken guns. We've not taken up arms. Because we feel that there's a civilized way of dealing with political problems and the problem.
Well, that is to be applauded. But what we cannot deny is that during the GNU, the opposition did have the opportunity to implement the democratic reforms which would have ended the Zanu PF dictatorship. That is a reality, a political reality that we cannot deny. The issue then becomes, why did we fail? Why did the opposition fail to implement even one token reform? During the GNU, Zanu PF cronies boasted that mazwane MDC adziza kudya nyerere. MDC leaders have learned to appreciate the benefits of being on the gravy train. They are not going to rock the boat. Of course, they were right. But if the full picture has to be realized, what they were also saying is this is a repeat of what happened soon after independence, when those same Zanu PF cronies themselves forgot about the promises of the armed struggle because they were benefiting from absolute power. We have to end this cycle. We cannot keep on repeating the same cycle over and over again. Chamisa and company, when they got into power, they fell into the same trap too. As much as Chamisa in this video is assuring us of his commitment to ending oppression, he himself cannot deny that he sold out. The same people who posted this video clip and praised Chamisa, you find they are not willing to accept that Chamisa sold out during the GNU, and ever since the GNU, Chamisa and company have been participating in these flawed elections out of greed.
Makorokoto Zimbabwe nokuti hakuna munhu anomira kana denga raronga plan. Denga raronga plan, denga harifoiri. Plan yaMwari haifoiri. Ini ndatanga kugadzira cabinet. There is no way we are not going to form a new cabinet. There is no way we are not going to have a celebration. There is no way we are not going to have an inauguration. Let's start preparing for our inauguration. Let's start preparing for our celebration.
Chamisa was lying. He knew that Zanu PF was rigging those elections. And he knew that participating will only give Zanu PF legitimacy and perpetuate the dictatorship. That is the reality on the ground. To keep on refusing it is meaningless. For most people, we thought Chamisa and company were bribed by the trappings of high office, the E-class Mercedes-Benz for the ministers, deputy ministers, the two deputy prime ministers, and Morgan Tsvangirai himself, the very generous salaries and allowances, and for Morgan Tsvangirai, the $4 million mansion in Highlands. But the true story is starting to emerge that Chamisa and company received more.
Nelson Chamisa received a farm in Marondera. Well, everybody need land, isn't it? But don't you think it was too early for him to receive land from Zanu PF when millions of people, they were still hoping that he would be the next president? And even worse, his wife received another farm in Chegutu. And the Zanu PF government, they gave Yeman, the wife of Nelson Chamisa, and she's making a very, very successful chicken business. One family. So we used to say bad things about Zanu PF, that these guys are so bad. One man can take 21 farms, 40 farms. One man can take other white men's big businesses. One man can take all these mining businesses, the industry, the shops, the banks. They can even allot to the Reserve Bank and nothing happened to them. I did not know that our own champions, they were going to be shareholders as far as to all the other members of.
This is the political reality that the people of Zimbabwe must deal with. The ancient Greeks were right that democracy only works if the people are educated, knowledgeable, diligent, and objective in carrying out the number one task of holding leaders to account. That is at the heart of a healthy and functioning democracy. The problem with Zimbabwe is that we have elevated our leaders to the point of they are becoming demigods. We worship them. They are infallible. And the leaders themselves have exploited that weakness. And I pretending that they are indeed demigods and they cannot be held to account. And this is why they've managed to get away with this life contradiction where you are an oppressor today, but the people pretend that you've done nothing wrong. The likes of Mnangagwa, when you look at what he did during Operation Mafotera Papi 2008, that should have sent a clear message to anyone that such a man is not material to be state president. Those two individuals, Mnangagwa and Chamisa and Chiwenga, should be in prison for what they did in 2008. By the same token, the opposition, by failing to implement even one token reform, even when they had the golden chance to do so, should have sent a clear message to every Zimbabwean that these individuals have been compromised. If we are serious about wanting a democratic and functioning Zimbabwe, we have to realize that there is a price to be paid. And that price is a simple price. We have got to accept that leaders are mere mortals. They are not infallible gods. And when they do something wrong, we hold them to account. No if, no but, nothing. No, if you did something wrong, you are held to account. Zimbabwe is a failed state because we failed to elect competent and accountable leaders. And it is our fault. You cannot expect somebody whom you treat like a demigod to accept that he can be accountable to you. Think about it. Good day.